why you would not want to lower it. I just don't see any reason to keep it 5 miles higher. I mean, just doesn't make any sense to me. I just think it has to help.
So one other thing to think about, if I'm not mistaken, I think a new business is popping up on Beach Avenue between 2nd and 3rd Street. I don't know if one of you can answer that. I was told
Crepe shop.
Creperie.
Creperie, right.
That's going to add, and that's the area right there where I do hear a lot of complaints about, around 2nd Street where the chicken and the egg is, because there's a lot of kids that, come to that area, and the kids are the ones that tend to drive a little quicker. If it says 25, they think they can go 25. So even if they shouldn't be going 25. So that might be something else to consider, maybe lowering it because of the fact that you have another business going there. You're probably going to have more pedestrians, more bicycles stopping in that area. It's going to get more congested. But like I said, I can only show you what we're allowed to do and tell you why I think we should do it. And it's up to you guys to decide what you want to do.
And Jim, you said you drove the length of boat in the town and it took you maybe 4 to 5 more minutes.
No, it took me actually 55 seconds longer to drive it at 20 miles an hour.
So yeah,
1 minute.
So
there isn't that much difference, but I just think it just encourages people to go slower if it says 20 versus 25.
If it says 20, maybe people drive 15 then. That'd be great. Just to avoid, people from getting injured.
Well, if you look at the data, if you lower it to 20 and 5, then you would have people be going 10.
Okay. I'm good with that.
I don't think so. And
Well,
if they
if you're looking at the data, I don't see a point. I don't see a reason for it. If you're looking at this again, if you look at the range, 10 mile an hour to 25, like it just doesn't. You don't have anyone speeding. I don't see.
Like I said, it's up to you guys. I can only just tell you what I think and the reasons why.
So we're suggesting that we would just lower it on Beach and Atlantic. So all of the side roads would still be 25. Is that how it would be?
Yeah, that's up to the town. Those are municipal roads, so the town could lower all of the municipal roads if they wanted to.
Okay.
But honestly, those roads are so short between stop signs.
You should
really
see
have
how
to
fast people make it from Delaware to Pennsylvania in my little space.
I know.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just trying to understand that.
Just putting in my 2 cents. I mean, I literally walk, ride, and drive that road, that stretch almost regularly in the summertime. So to me, the problem is more human misbehavior, and we kind of touched on that. I would personally like to see more enforcement in terms of, it's a circus out there in the morning. Walkers, joggers out of the bike lane, coming at you, your car can barely get through. So to me, the speed isn't so much the problem as the fact that there are so many bodies out there at any given time and they're not following the rules. Personally, and we haven't really, I wasn't sure, is this supposed to be something permanent or just during the summer?
No, I would assume that it would be permanent, but that's also probably up to the town to decide what they want to do with that.
Okay. When we talk about the township, I mean, I know they had a problem, but they're unique in that their streets are 2 ways. We're 1 way. So we have a little more leeway and a little more working room, whereas they are really up against it. Plus, they really don't have a lot of sidewalks there. So you've got stones and everything coming out in the street. So all the bike riders and walkers are forced toward the center of the road. And it became a huge problem. But then what also happened when I was speaking with somebody is that they achieved the objective of getting the traffic off of those roads, the vehicular traffic, but now it's up on the boulevard. And some places are getting, they said it's very heavily trafficked because of that. And I was just wondering, in Beach Haven now, in our business district where we don't have a lot of room or maneuverability, are we going to be encouraging more vehicular traffic up there? I don't know. That would be another one of my concerns.
I believe some of the things the township did was commercial vehicles aren't allowed on the back road for more than a certain amount of blocks. They don't want vehicles driving for long distances on the back roads. Those are just some of the things that I think that they have done.
Okay. Well, anybody else want to jump in here, or we? Okay, I'm not sure where we stand on this, truthfully.
I think,
I think we're just opening a discussion.
I understand where Jamie stands. I understand where Colleen stands. Nancy, I think I understand where you stand. Chris, what are your thoughts on it? And then we'll have Frank, see if Frank has anything to add. And then maybe we'll get some input from the public when we go to public discussion. That might help us further the discussion.
Okay.
So I
Chris.
really honestly, hold on. I honestly don't have a position one way or another. To me, you know, I think that we have a people, like what Colleen said, you know, a bodies issue more so than a speeding issue there. But either way, I can't see that it would hurt. I don't, you know, I mean, so to me, I'm okay with it going down. I'm okay with it staying up. Sorry, I'm going to be neutral.
Do you have anything to add to the discussion, Frank?
Well, you know, the study was done, and basically, if you want to lower the speed limit, you let the county know. Now, on the Atlantic Ave, that's a municipal street, so I would have to take that data and certify that for the town to lower it on Atlantic. The county would take care of Beach, and, you know, and I would have to write a letter about the data that they provided us and certify that we can lower it to 20. And based on what I'm seeing, I don't have a problem doing that if you direct us to lower the speed limit.
Okay.
All right.
That's
All
pretty
right.
much
I think
it.
I think we can move on to the next discussion, and then when we open the floor a little bit, we'll see what we hear from the public about the topic. Okay, so we wanted to move to the next topic. Colleen, go ahead if you wanted to introduce that.
Well, that's a 2021 COVID preparations for Beach Haven. And we basically had pulled up the things that were done in 2020. And I mean, I think it's what, March 31st that the governor is going to come out with the latest determination. Realistically speaking, I think we need to be prepared that this summer is going to be very similar. I've heard all kinds of projections that, oh, by this summer, you're going to be able to eat in the restaurants with your friends and family. And then I hear we're looking at the fall. So realistically, I think we need to err on the side of caution and start preparing. And I thought that the 2020 preparations did a pretty good job, especially because everything was getting, you know, thrown in at the 11th hour. One way I was thinking we might want to go is perhaps get a, you know, committee of business owners or citizens and see if they have any further input. But basically, personally speaking, I think we can go with what we did in 2020. Anybody else?
Oh, I have Mary Claire on with us, and just for the public's knowledge, she's going to run through the list of the executive orders that were put in place for last summer, and they really are still in effect. Bill and Beverly Trom are also on the line, and you guys can hear those and then discuss whether we think we're just going to continue. And then we can always have a Q&A and an open session with the business owners too, to see if they had any improvements to make to what we did last year. But I think we did do a good job putting some mechanisms in place that made it work for everybody. So Mary Claire, do you have that list?
I do. So I'm just going to go through it very basically. The emergency order number 2020-1 was about short-term rentals, prohibiting short-term rentals until May 1st. 2020-2 was the beach closure emergency order, where we closed all the beaches starting April 7th to people except for those who had reentry placards. We did allow walking and jogging and dog walking for those residents. Emergency order number 2020-3. We extended the short-term rental ban until May 15th. Emergency order 2020-4 was allowing for temporary outdoor seating for restaurants. Emergency order 2020-5. We further extended the short-term rental ban until June 1st. Emergency order 2020-6 We wanted to help businesses, so we waived fees for sandwich board signs, limiting that to 1 sign per business. We ceased issuing outdoor display permits. People didn't have to apply for those in lieu of additional sidewalk sale dates. So we added more sidewalk sales to the ones that we normally put out. We also waived late fees for mercantile licenses, and we allowed, this is where we started our curbside pickup parking spaces. In 2020-7, we amended number 6, and we allowed more outdoor displays and waived fees for them. 2020-8, we allowed Atlantic City Electric to install temporary generators. 2020-9, we added to the sidewalk sale dates that we had put into effect earlier. 2020-10, we allowed restaurants with liquor licenses to extend them into their outdoor dining areas. We created a teen curfew, and we added a mask mandate for the handicap beach entrances. 2020-11, we limited the hours of service for outdoor dining. In 2020-12, we added more sidewalk sale dates to those we had already created.
And I believe only one of those has been rescinded,
Yes.
right, Mary Claire?
Only
And
one.
that is
Yeah,
beach
the
access.
closure. Yeah, the beach closure one that number 2020-2, we rescinded that one a month later
Mhm.
in May.
And the rental bans just expired, and then that went business as usual.
Yes.
Okay. Bill and Bev, did you have anything to add, discussion about these executive orders or recommendation to the council to proceed for this year? Unmute.
I think we did a great job last year, and I think we should all sit down and talk about this to revise them. The only thing I want to see is, hopefully with all the vaccinations coming in, we can move forward and kind of lift the restrictions. I want to see the outside dining stay, but I want to keep their occupancy rating the same for inside and outside. In other words, if they're allowed another percentage in, they have to knock that off at the outside. That's the only thing I would like to see change.
You don't see having a need for any limits on short-term rentals?
Not at this point, not right now.
Colleen, if you wanted to go through the council and have the discussion now?
Sure. Everybody, like I said, I already told you how I feel, and I think moving forward, I agree with the Troms that we did a good job, and the outdoor dining should stay in place for this summer, but commensurate with any changes in the indoor dining. I think that's a very fair point. The rentals, I do think we can, it all, and I was going to get to this later in closing comments, the whole vaccination schedule is also going to influence how we operate. And that's an unknown quantity right now. So yeah, I think everything is in place with a little tweaking. And certainly if anybody in the business or even just regular public has a comment, we'd be glad to hear it.
Council?
I agree with Colleen. As an epidemiologist as well, I do think we still are going to have to be careful through the summer. We're still going to be social distancing and wearing masks, unfortunately, but I think we really need to maintain the outdoor dining. I think it worked out well. It helped a lot of people. It helped a lot of people stay in business. I think the retail stores, anything we can do to help them. I think they did well this year. I've heard from a number of them that said, they had actually very good years. They might have been down a little bit because they were shut for quite a while. But I do think we need to still be vigilant. And that's why I think the outdoor dining worked well. And so I totally agree with that. I don't think we need to ban rentals. I don't think it turns out that fomites really aren't an issue of spread nearly as much as airborne spread. So, and more and more people are getting vaccinated, but we still don't know how, we still are going to have to be careful for a while. So that's my feeling.
Chris or Jamie?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to say that I think, keeping these ordinances, Mr. Trump said something about like just having a discussion. I would like to hear, community input from business owners and just our residents as to what worked, what didn't. Obviously our timing trying to get that in place was challenging, but at the same time, I think we did a good job. It was hard seeing in the beginning, and in the beginning of spring was tough. So, the businesses that had to stay closed, like the shops and things like that, that was really challenging for them. But, in the end, it sounds like they did pretty well. So, making sure that we have things in place and that we're advocating for our business owners and our restaurants to the state based off of what Governor Murphy comes out with in March. I agree with Nancy. We are going to probably still have to do social distancing. And, it's kind of nice in a resort town to have outdoor dining like we haven't had before. I know it poses some challenges, but if we have to have, mandates around how many people can be seated inside, that really helps the restaurant. So I'm good for keeping those things in place.
Jamie?
I also agree with what everyone is saying about definitely the outdoor seating. I also like that we have to be, vigilant in the numbers. So if the numbers of the inside increase to 50%, that they have to take outdoor seating out of that. So I know that with the mercantile licenses that are going out, Sherry, you were working on getting an accurate seating plan from all the restaurants so we can be better prepared for that. I also would like, last year what we did is we had a Zoom meeting with the businesses, and I think we should do that again this year with the 2 members of council, just to get a feel for, we have these executive orders in place. They're the businesses, they can give us more information of what worked, what did not work. I know that just hearing from them, the curbside parking spaces, I actually think should be forever, not just these executive orders.
Bullshit.
It's just, they definitely, I know, sorry, what was that, Mr. Trump? Are you just singing?
Yeah, it probably was.
I'm muting him.
That's fine, but you'll be on that call and then you can disagree with what I'm saying. I love a good argument. So the only thing now that I have the chief on board here is just that the teen curfew, I know that I just would like to maybe see or have a discussion about a more collaborative effort with the township's teen curfew and the Beach Haven teen curfew, because if you have the same teen curfew at the same time, you could have a more collaborative effort with both the township and Beach Haven to kind of get everyone home. But when their curfew's 9 and our curfew's 10, they all just run over to 12th Street and beyond to Beach Haven. So, and I have also heard complaints from residents that, the curfew being different times in a neighboring town wasn't exactly, could be something that we could look at again for this upcoming summer, was having.
We don't know if the township's going to have a curfew this summer.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So if there is a teen curfew, maybe consider having the same curfew as township. Just an idea moving forward with these executive orders. Yeah.
I think what I'd like to do is pull our dream team together again and go through these executive orders with a fine tooth comb, pull out, what was working and things that we need to be updated, and kind of get it all back down on paper again so we can answer questions quickly and easily, and then schedule a Q&A with the business owners and 2 members of council. But I think we all, Bruce and Bill and Bev and Jim and Chris Carson, we all need to get the team back together and just refresh our memories and go through all this stuff again and make sure that we're all on the same page. Go ahead, Bill.
The only thing I want to say is, I think for what we dealt with in the time that we had to deal with, and with everything being shut down, Jimmy Markowski, we didn't have the normal enforcement and everything. So we had to put policies in that way to make sure that, I mean, we were cutting, how many people were we cut in half that we didn't have officers for this summer to go out and respond? He's planning on that for this summer right now. We have to get it done. So there are improvements that have to be made, and I'm sure we'll all sit down and work and it'll get together and happen. That's all.
Unfortunately, too, we're kind of, again, waiting to see what the Division of ABC is going to do. And we're going to
Right.
assume that they're going to extend everything because they seemed very amenable to helping their businesses last year. So I think we're going to assume, and then we'll just wait and see.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that closes the general discussion, Colleen.
Okay, so we will now open the floor to public comment. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes and raise your hand, your electronic hand, and Sherry will let you in.
So if you're on a smart device, your electronic hand is under your participants tab. If you're on a web device, a web browser, you want to use the reactions tab. There's a raise hand. You can hit that and it will put you in the queue so we can see that you would like to speak, and we can unmute you and get your name and address for the record. So there you go. Perfect. We're going to work through these. If you are on neither, you're not on a computer, you're not on a smart device, you're on a regular phone, and you would like to be heard, you can always *6 your phone and announce yourself, and we will get your information and have you be heard. Okay, so we'll start with Lynn Van Name. Lynn, you can unmute yourself. I see you, Steve. State your name and address for the record.
Hi, Linda Van Name, 815 North Atlantic Avenue. You asked for public comment on the speed limit, and I don't have any problem on my corner with speeding. But when I'm out for a bike ride, I am concerned, especially for the children in the bike lane, because sometimes they don't mean to veer out into the traffic lane or run a stop sign, but they do. So I don't see why it would hurt to lower it 5 miles an hour while you have the permission. I know from riding in the township on Atlantic this year, it feels much safer with a lower speed limit. Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn. Steve Steiner.
Hi, Steve Steiner, 521 Amber Street here in Beach Haven. A couple of things about the Ocean Road, beach and Atlantic. If you lower them year round, remember that a lot of times that's the road that we have to take when it's flooding in the off season. And to just arbitrarily make our roads 20 miles an hour when there's really not very many people here. So I would seriously consider thinking about making them change just like the boulevard changes between on season and off season. Surflight and Showplace will probably have to be similar to last summer, with the tents in the park, hopefully, and as well as, on our patio for the Showplace ice cream parlor. As far as last season is concerned, it was as successful as it could be given our constraints, but we were down 63%. So that's a considerable amount to deal with. And we're dealing with it. We've scheduled something that will work, that if we have to start in the park and then in August we can go inside, or September we can go inside, we're ready to, our season will work either in the park or in the theater. But we're looking as if we're going to have to go into the park. With regard to if they get a larger percentage for restaurants, we're not a restaurant. Obviously, Showplace is an ice cream parlor, but that's not really what we're talking about. because we're outside anyway with that probably. But if restaurants get a larger increase inside, given how beaten up they were last year, I understand why there might be some logic for saying, well, if they get to have more inside, then we want to reduce what's outside. But why not give the restaurant the opportunity to try to make back some of what they didn't get last year? And then hopefully in 22, it all goes back to normal. It's just another point of view to think about when you're considering whether or not to diminish the outdoor if they get more indoor. So I thought I'd just mention that. And that's all I got. Thank you very much for all the good work you're all doing.
Thanks, Steve. Jay Cranmer?
Hi. A couple things. I want to talk about the occupancy and tent situation and then the speed limit. I would hope that you all would let us continue to use tents as we did this past summer.
Jay, I don't mean to interrupt you, but did you state your address? I'm sorry.
No, I didn't. It's 509 Dock Road, Beach Haven.
Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. Having the tent saved us. We obviously we operated much lower than our normal capacity. We were down 40% over the whole year, and we survived. So we appreciate all that the town did to help us out, letting us have the tent and the curbside pickups and so forth. I would ask that you make a decision as soon as you can relative to letting us have the outdoor dining again, because we're getting words from our vendors that the demand for tents is up significantly. They need commitment soon if we're going to get reasonable prices. The same is going to apply to other things that we would use in the outside tents, whether it's the furnishings or landscaping or whatever. So a timely decision would help. And we would look at being able to have a tent up and in operation by early May, which will help us immensely. We are not looking to increase our occupancy overall. Whatever we have in the tent, we'll take from inside. I think it would be very inappropriate of us to say, oh, let us have an extra 120 seats on top of everything else. It's just, I appreciate Steve's thoughts. Most of us don't have the capacity in our kitchens to increase our overall capacity beyond that which we're already allowed. So I would make no request to get that. Just let us know as soon as you can that we can use the same program we used last summer with the tents, and we can get going, ordering the tents and ordering all the other things that will go with it. The other issue I would speak to is the speeding on the roads. To me, with all due respect to everyone, the speed limit is meant as one that most people say, oh, we can go a little bit faster than that and the police won't bother us. If it's 25, we can go 30 and we might get a warning at most. I personally, and I've lived in that town longer than almost anyone on this call, I think taking it down to 20 miles an hour, to me, it's common sense. Whether it gets the cars to go slower, it's safer for pedestrians, it's safer for bicyclists. And I know in the center of town, it's not such a problem because the streets are a little bit narrower and people already go slower. But if you take Beach Avenue from Berkeley south, it's wide, it's two-way. And I think the speeding there is a bigger problem than it is any other stretch of Atlantic or Beach Avenue in the whole town. And I think a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit year-round would be fine. In the winter, if you get flooding and you have to be on those streets, you're going to go slower anyhow. The police aren't going to be after people when we got flooding issues. We're still a friendly town, I think. So I would encourage you to go ahead and drop it to 20 miles an hour. We're a summer resort. Let's be kind to the bicyclists and the pedestrians, and just make it a safer environment. So thank you all for all you do. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jay.
Sherry, can I ask you a quick question based on what Jay said? So what would be it seems that the general consensus for council is to go ahead with the outdoor dining. And besides Jay, a couple other businesses have approached me and said, you know, I got to order my tents. You know, what's the story? So could that be something that your team could maybe decide within the week, so they could go ahead within maybe next week to order those tents and then move forward with all of the other?
Mhm. Bruce, correct me if I'm wrong, but the executive orders are all in place as long as Governor Murphy's executive order 107 remains in place, or whatever it was, which it is. So they're technically all still in effect.
Correct.
Until Governor Murphy rescinds his executive orders, all still remain.
Mhm.
Okay, so they can go. Are doing outdoor dining. That's a fair.
Yeah, I mean, I still want to go back and just make sure that we didn't put some seasonal dates in anywhere. I mean, I do want to go
Right.
through things with a fine tooth comb, but I believe so. Go ahead, Jim.
Right.
The only concern that I would have is with the ABC. I'd hate to see somebody like Buckaloo's put a tent up. The town allows them to have the outdoor dining, but then the ABC doesn't allow them to have the extension of premise.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know.
So
for
that would be the
sure-
only concern.
We don't know for sure what the ABC is doing, but I'd be surprised if they did not continue.
I don't think they'll have a problem with it. I would hate to see them. I don't see us having a problem with letting them do
Don't
it.
let any business owner take the representation from us that that's going to happen. So.
But the procedure would still be the same, where they would have to apply for that outdoor seating again. So the procedure would be the same, but.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe so. Like I said, I just want to like dot the T's, cross the I's, make sure everything is good. But yeah, I mean, it's still in place.
Okay.
Okay, if I could just add a comment that in our case, our tenant is on our property and our whole property is licensed for the sale of alcohol. We haven't extended our tent into the street or over the sidewalks. So it's, I think no matter what the governor does, we're fully in compliance as long as the town is okay with us putting that tent back up on the parking lot.
Right.
You
Right.
know, it looks to me like the council's in favor of allowing this. So if you want to gamble, you can go ahead and, if you want to take a little gamble, you can go ahead and make your plans.
All right. Thanks, Jay. I had John Halperin's hand up. John, if you want to unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record, please.
John Halprin, 319 Fairview Avenue, Beach Haven, also president of the Beach Haven Taxpayers Association. Our association, I'm going to comment on the speed limit. Our association is in favor of anything that would enhance public safety. And I personally believe that lowering the speed limit will be a good thing in terms of public safety. We've been on record on other issues before the Beach Haven Council where public safety was endangered, and we were very supportive of any action by the council where public safety is protected. And I also want to remind everyone that there was a bicycle ordinance that was passed, which allows in the main in Bay Avenue, which doesn't allow bicyclists to ride on the streets, and they have to walk their bikes on sidewalks and use the side streets. And again, this
No.
ordinance.
Let me just correct you. You can't ride your bicycle on the sidewalk. You have to be on the street. 3-wheel and Surrey bikes cannot be on Bay Avenue.
Okay.
But all the other bikes are. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
That's all right. That's fine. That I was doing it by memory. But that type of ordinance, as well as lowering the speed limit, is what I believe in line with us trying to protect the public. And so I believe it, for public safety reasons, we should lower the speed limit. Thank you.
Thanks, John. For those of you just joining the meeting, if you'd like to be heard during this public comment session, you can raise your electronic hand. You're going to find it under your participants tab or under the reactions tab, depending on what kind of device you're on. And that'll put you in the queue, and then we can call on you and get your information for you to speak. If you're on a regular phone and you're not able to do either one of those things, you can *6 and announce yourself and be heard. David Mike, go ahead and unmute, state your name and address for the record. Dave, are you able to unmute yourself?
Maybe somebody answered his question.
Maybe. Stephen Kirschner, you can unmute yourself, state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. My name is Stephen Kirschner, 410 Taylor Avenue. I'm calling regarding some issues and questions we have regarding Bay Club. I am the president of the Bay Club Association, and we've had a couple issues that I just want some guidance and help perhaps from the township. As you know, our community owns the Dog Beach at the end between Taylor and 8th Avenue. We've had issues probably since before Sandy with a lot of erosion. In the past, we have added sand to that beach to maintain some of the beach and tried to protect our homes from storms and weather and high tides. It was about, I think, 3 or 4 years ago, the Beach Haven Township gave us permission to add some large cement blocks to help block the weather until we had a permanent solution. We've been working with the DEP and the Beach Haven in the past to try to come up with a solution. We've had multiple suggestions that were turned down by the DEP, including jetty rock, the large boulders like some that are at the end of Taylor Avenue, and some of the cement blocks that we have there. But again, Beach Haven allowed us to leave them in place till we have a more permanent solution. Every several years, we've been replacing the sand with the bar sand. The last time was 2018. That costs us between $13,000 and $15,000 to do that each time we do, which we've been paying for, just try to maintain that beach and protect the homes. Yesterday, 2 days ago, the company we have working with us, which is Redmond Landscaping, those cement blocks were tilting, so they did straighten them out, and they were going to dump sand, and they were stopped because we did not have a permit. And the truth of the matter is, we have never had a permit to add the sand to that beach. The township told us that it had to be the certified beach sand, the same thing that's used before, and it is and has been, but that was stopped. So one of the issues we have or questions is, what can we do? What options are available to us, and how we protect our homes from weather and storms, and as well as the beach. That beach has eroded away over the past 8 to 10 years to the point now where there is really no beach at all, where the waves are up against those cement blocks we have by our homes at high tide. So even the dog walkers aren't able to use the beach those couple times a day. Now, the original charter, when Bay Club was built, includes 2 issues that we allow. Number one, that we always keep that open to the public for a dog beach. And number 2, that we always allow public moorings for people to come there with their boats to anchor and come up to use the restaurants, the shops, stores, recreation, which has always worked well, but it's just getting more difficult for people to use that beach in that area. So the 2 issues I think we have specifically with us is, number 1, what avenues or proper lines do we have in order to protect our homes and go ahead with that. The last communication we had with the township about this, when we were looking into it initially, was back in 2018. And it looked like the DEP would allow a bulkhead type of solution to be put in. And we had some plans drawn up then, but then that was also stopped by the DEP. So we've hit a lot of roadblocks, and obviously we're a small community. We have under 20 homes, and it just looks like it's going to be extremely costly for us to do anything on a more permanent basis. I mean, the sand every couple of years is one thing. The other issue with that beach is there's what we're obviously initially most concerned with is the area directly between the bay and the homes that are right there against the bay. But then just south of that is 8th Street, which is also part of that beach, which is also having some of the issues. I know the sand we put in is washed away and washed towards that end, but it's eroding. The other thing is the issue with this started after the concrete, it's like a concrete mesh barriers were put at the end, from the gazebo by the playground and basketball court across to the end of Taylor Avenue. And since that happened, some of the currents and eddies have changed where the water actually, especially the outgoing tide, kind of rips around those barriers and really erodes into the beach even further. And it's just been getting progressively worse every year. Now, I don't know if there's issues we can have somebody look into that. Perhaps it would be the US Corps of Army Engineers or the DEP or somebody with some options or solutions in order just to maintain it as a dog beach and as an area for everybody to enjoy, and at the same time to protect our homes.
Mr. Kirschner, is that
Yes.
your background noise that I hear? Is that, I hear a child in the background. Who is that?
That
No,
is another
no.
room, and I'll take care of that. I can move that. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay. So Jamie, did you want to speak to
My
Mr.
grandson.
Kirschner? And we also have Frank Little on the line as well.
So, Mr. Kirschner, are you presently at the Bay Club right now?
Right, no, I'm in Tabernacle right now. There
Okay.
are 3 other members there that I'm talking with, though.
Okay, so you haven't witnessed the actual, the sand that has been placed in front of the Bay Club?
No, I talked to Gary Spagnoli, who was there, and I've spoken with John Redmond, who was there yesterday, in charge of that. But no, I have not. I am going down on Saturday, but I am not there, and I've not seen what has been done thus far. No.
Okay, because I mean, it just looks like construction based dirt. It does not look like sand whatsoever. The consistency of the percentage of sand, silt, and clay doesn't come anywhere near what the consistency of the sand, silt, and clay composition of the Bay beach is. There's also landscape fiber placed, landscape carpet was placed underneath the sand over the concrete boulders. And at high tide today, a good majority has already washed away into the bay. So it was really disturbing to me to witness that, because it wasn't really a well-played solution. And if you're paying this money to do this, unfortunately, it's not the best solution. Now, the concrete barriers and the sand placed on that bay, we have no enforcement of that because that is enforced by the DEP. So when I spoke to them, they informed me that you were supposed to have a permit for the concrete barriers placed in 2018, which you do not. And also any sand placed on that area also has to have a permit as well from the DEP. They are the end all be all because you do have a CAFRA permit in that development. So we as a borough were concerned because of the landscape fabric and the sand just going into the bay when it was placed there. But as far as, mitigating what needs to be done there, that has to be worked out between the Bay Club and the DEP. We unfortunately do not have the means or the legality to do anything there. But I mean, I would love to work with you with solutions. I know that Frank and I were, trying to speak of what we could possibly, give as a solution moving forward. But I mean, what is being done right now is not acceptable. And I don't know the answer to what needs to be done, but it needs to be something that's well thought out by an engineer or something with some type of background of what needs to be done.
Well, it was, and it had been in the past. The issue with what happened yesterday was that they were stopped and unable to complete the project. That fabric goes underneath, and then after the sand's in place, it is wrapped over top of the sand to contain it, and it is anchored into the sand with the cedar posts before the fence is in. So that, and again, like I know the workers were told cease and desist or get arrested. So they packed up and left without being able to secure that the way it should have or has to be done. So I know the job was stopped midway, unable to complete that. But
You're cor-
obviously, because it has been done in the past. That was done in 18. It was done with the fabric as well, and it was anchored, and there were no issues with it eroding away. And we also went through planting the dune grass on there as well to try to help to have it grow and anchor it as well. But I understand what you're saying is that in order to do anything, we have to go through the DEP to get their suggestions, options, recommendations, whatever we can to get any permits to get that completed.
Jamie or Frank, have you ever heard of anything like that? Is it like a mini little geotube? Like, what is that? They're creating a,
Similar, but with sand instead of the water. We had talked about the geotubes, and the DEP told us, no, that would not be acceptable there. That was back in 2018.
because the geotubes are filled with sand as well, but they're
Yeah.
much, much larger.
Yes.
Frank, do you have anything to add to this
Well,
discussion?
the problem is that it's a natural shoreline and you have to put in something that's on a slope, and sand isn't going to do it these days with the wave action we get there. And that's why, years ago, the borough put those concrete mats in on their park, because we had the bay right up to the edge of the basketball court.
Mhm.
So we tried to put a bulkhead in also and were turned down by the DEP, and the DEP required us to put in a sloping shoreline, and that was the only thing they would approve. Now, that's not cheap. I think that was over $500,000 to go from the pavilion across Taylor Avenue. So unfortunately, at the rate things are eroding there, there might have to be a riprap shoreline there. And the only time you're going to walk your dog is at dead low tide, because, if you don't do something permanent there, it's just going to keep eroding, and it's going to get up into the buildings. So
Correct.
I guess I'd have to talk to your engineer and your coastal consultant, who I thought you were using Karen Grappuzzo from Coastal Design, I think, at one
Yes.
point. And I talked to her, but it didn't seem like anything was moving, that you were in discussion with DEP, you were talking to them, but, the solution might be an expensive solution. And
Well, we realize that
sand is a
any
Band-Aid.
solution will be, yes.
Right. So I don't know what, there's, again, it's private property, and it's not in the borough's hands to expend municipal funds to correct that. And I don't know what your options are as a bay club, whether you can borrow money to, build a shoreline or not. But if you don't
Well-
do something permanent, your buildings are going to be compromised.
Right. Well, in looking at that, like whether it's the concrete barrier or a bulkhead or whatever is put there, the issue is that the dog beach will be gone. And
Right.
we know how busy that is. I mean, there are, in the summer, you can't get on the beach. It's so busy
Right.
there. And that also brings a lot of business to the restaurants, the shops and stores there. I know there's one couple that joined us and bought a house there just about within the last year and a half, came there because of the dog beach. They had lived over on the mainland, and they were coming here twice a week just to use the dog beach, and decided to move here. But there are
Right.
quite a few people that do that, and it really is the only area on the island. And there are people that come from Barnegat Light and Holgate and everywhere just to have the dogs run on the water on the beach.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's.
Mr. Kirschner, I think
it
the
is
best thing to
personal
do is
property.
just have you and Frank Little maybe make contact with each other outside of this meeting, and then let us move on with the rest of public comment, and we'll work with you as best we can. We had met with your organization a few years ago and agreed that we would bookend your project, because our property would match up on both ends, and we would work with you. But ultimately, what's on your property will be your responsibility. So let's work together, and hopefully, Frank, we can make contact with Mr. Kirchner.
Yes.
Does that sound all right?
I mean, at this point, we're gonna have to talk, and we're gonna have to talk to their environmental consultant to find out what the real solution is, regardless of how expensive it is. Because the Band-Aid
Correct.
approach with the sand and the fabric isn't working.
Correct.
And we only allowed those temporary barriers just to help out, while we thought within a year you would have a permit to build something that wasn't gonna be a problem. And that
Right.
didn't happen. So,
Mr. Kirschner,
No.
if you're okay with that, discussing then
Yes.
outside this meeting?
Sure.
Okay, all right, we're gonna move on then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Gallant? State your name and address for the record.
Cheryl Gallant, 220 South Bay Avenue.
Go ahead.
I just, first of all, thank you guys. I'm just, as a business owner, putting that cap on, really appreciate all the thought that's going into helping make everything a successful summer. Taking off that cap and putting my SBA cap, I just wanted to, the PPP program is out. I do work for the SBA. And if you know of any businesses that are having trouble navigating the PPP process, to please tell them, feel free to reach out to me. Steve Steiner, I saw you out there. The Shuttered Venues Act just got published today with a lot of good information about the grant. So I just wanted to just say, you know, and I'm very confidential if anybody does reach out to me, you know, just to make sure people know that, but just taking off both hats. Thanks again for everything you guys do.
Did you want to put some contact information out for people that need it?
Oh, sure. How do I do that?
Do you want to just give a website or an email or a phone number out verbally?
Oh, sure, sure. Cheryl, SHERYL .painter, P as in Paul, AYNTER at sba.gov, 973-645-3582. And then you can always go to sba.gov/PPP.
Thank you so much. All right, I got all that.
Good, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. David, Mike, did you want to try this again?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Oh, there you are. Okay, state your name and address for the record.
David Mike, 815 North Atlantic Avenue.
Go for it.
I'm also all for lowering the speed limit, if at all possible, on Beach and Atlantic. I think that would only enhance the and increase the safety on those streets. And I'd also like to, I know Colleen mentioned this, especially in the mornings between maybe 7:30 and 10 o'clock, there's an awful lot of walkers that walk on the street on Beach Avenue and Atlantic. There's a lot of bikes going the wrong way. I'd love to see if maybe the police or somebody could be out there the first couple of weeks of the season, trying to point people in the right direction and make sure they use the bike lanes in the right direction to make sure pedestrians stay off the street and use the sidewalks, and to make sure bikers go in the right direction. I think that would enhance the safety also. Thank you very much.
Thanks, David. Jean Frazier, you can unmute yourself, state your name and address for the record.
Unmute.
There you go.
Okay. Jean Frazier, 204 Ocean Street.
Go ahead.
Practically every day I travel Beach Avenue and Atlantic. And the bigger problem that I have encountered is the bicycles going the wrong way. I sometimes ride those roads and the bicycle are in the middle of the road. They're going on the wrong way they're going. And then it doesn't leave the driver of the car enough room to be riding the car, because they come over the line that is allowed for the bikers.
Thank you, Jean.
You're welcome.
Is there any other member of the public that would like to be heard? You can raise your electronic hand with your participants tab or your reactions tab at the bottom of your screen. If you're on a regular phone, you can *6 and unmute yourself and announce yourself. Seeing none, Mayor?
Okay, if there are no more public comments, I'm closing the floor to public comments. And now we will take final remarks from the council, starting with Mrs. Bellmiller.
Okay, thank you, Colleen. Well, thank you everyone for your comments. It gave me a lot to think about. I was also thinking a little bit more about, the speed limits. And another thing we have to consider is consistency. And safety is always increased by consistency. And keep in mind that, Beach Avenue runs not just in Beach Haven, but the other 5 municipalities. And so when you're coming in from the township at 25 miles per hour on Beach, and then you hit 20 miles in Beach Haven, it's not consistent. So just keep that in mind as well, that if you're, changing all these speed limits throughout an 18-mile island, it turns out to be less safe than we originally anticipate. So I like to see more consistency than just changing by 5 miles per hour. And the data just doesn't support it for me. But thank you for your comments. And I'm obviously still thinking about that. Just thinking about the summer season is exciting, but I am looking forward to the Troms update on a possible storm coming Sunday night. I need some snow, please. 1 storm for my daughter and her sled that has dust on it from 2 years. So, but I am looking forward to this summer season, but I would like 1 snow season. But again, with the businesses as well, thank you for your comments. And like you just need to know that we are working on this and for you to have a successful season. I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Dr. Davis?
I really don't have any comments. I thought it was a good meeting and everybody was heard. And so have a nice rest of the week. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Rutherford?
I have 2 things outside of what we talked about tonight. I just wanted to promote the Department of Public Works. I know we had this before, the Recycle Coach app, an option to be able to know when your trash goes and doesn't go. I have to tell you, I downloaded it myself. I find it fabulous to be able to get a notification the day before so I don't forget. I think this will be a great opportunity for people who don't live here full time to have that option to know, because it's, in the winter time, seeing recycle cans out for 2 weeks when the people leave from their weekend visit is a little annoying. So I just want to encourage others to try that app. I think it's a great way to keep yourself on check. And then the other thing is we have worked, Sherry and Mary Claire and folks in the borough have worked hard to make sure that the COVID updates get taken care of. And just so you know, as a nurse, all I do all day long as a school nurse is field COVID questions from parents and from staff. So they've done a great job of making that on our homepage a space where you can find some answers to some questions from the LBI Health Department. They get calls all day long and we're happy to field those calls, but sometimes it's just a matter of reading or researching on your own. And there's some really great opportunities to find that information on our site. And another recommendation is to go to the NJDOH website. They have excellent information there. You can ask questions and they'll answer them. So I just want to encourage people when we're dealing with this COVID situation that seems to change every day, that's a great place for resources to find. So that's my health push for you all today. So that's it. Thank you. Colleen, you're on mute.
You're muted, Colleen.
Sorry about that. Yeah, Chris, what everybody said, it was a good meeting, very productive, and I've been writing down as fast as I can the comments. I also had a comment I wanted to make about the COVID because we have been getting a lot of questions and concerns. And our website, which is beachhaven-nj.gov, we're updating it as fast as we can. The LBI Health Department is updating it and our own emergency management team is. Thank you very much. But like everyone else, they have to get it from the state level. There's a lot of frustration If you don't have Nixle, you might want to consider getting that app on your devices as well. Please hang in there. You know, again, when these doses come in, I'm sure they'll get back to us as soon as possible. It's a tough situation. Also, just a reminder that the annual turkey dinner sponsored by the Beach Haven Fire Department will take place on Saturday, February 13th from 12 to 8. It's $20 a ticket, and they'd love to have you there because it's not only a great meal, but it's one of their most important fundraisers. And they've already lost out on a couple of fundraisers this year, so they can really use our support. So thank you. Take care. Stay safe.
Bill, can you confirm that the turkey dinner is a takeout? Is it takeout only?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's takeout only.
All right. We can't sit around the table with each other yet then.
No,
Next.
it's gonna be takeout only.
You know,
And
Okay,
also,
I
it's
just
the
wanted to make
Everbridge
sure.
app, it's the Everbridge
Oh,
app, not
pardon me,
Nixle
yes,
anymore.
right.
Oh, the
It
bridge.
is the Everbridge app.
Everbridge app,
Yep.
yes, please.
Something came in on Nixle. Sorry.
That's
It
okay.
used to be called that, so it's confusing.
did,
I know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, everybody.
And do you want to say anything, just before we end, do you want to say anything about signing up because it's not coming to their phones?
No, it's the Everbridge app. They know.
Yeah,
that.
okay, all right.
Thank
That's all.
you.
Apologies.
Go ahead, Nance.
Yeah, I mean, every year, except for this year, I've always gotten some tickets in the mail for the.
Oh,
turkey.
they're coming.
They're coming in.
They're
Yeah,
coming. I saw their post about it. They
Yeah.
got them out late, so
I was thinking about
they'll
that.
be
the other
there.
day. I thought usually by now I have the tickets.
right.
Yeah, they're on the
Yep.
way.
All right.
it's the
Everyone,
postal system.
uh-huh. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
So, second,
All right. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank
Bye.
you.